Hello, everyone, and welcome back to What the Frick podcast. Today, I'm actually here with my sister, Kayla. Welcome.
Hello.
All right, so Kayla is actually my first in-person guest, which is a very big deal. We are actually recording live from my parents' house in Las Vegas.
You're making it sound like it's a cool place, like we're recording live from Aruba on a boat.
We're in Vegas. That should count for something. Everyone's actually inside cooking us dinner, and we're out here doing this, so that's really fun. All right, so Kayla actually is going to be telling us one of, I guess, a very personal story of hers. As we all know, we've all been through hardships when it comes to dating and relationships, and why are you laughing?
The way you're talking.
This is how I
Dating and hardships. Like, it's just life.
Okay, well, this is how
You're
it
making it
is.
so formal. We've all been fucked over by guys before. That's the cap. You're making it sound so formal.
Okay, well, that's how it be, okay? It be like that, okay? So basically, Kayla's going to be sharing a story of hers. She just got out of, would you consider that a serious relationship?
He proposed to me, so yeah, it was pretty serious.
Okay, well, I actually don't know a lot of this story. I've been kind of waiting for me and Kayla to sit down and really go over it. So I guess to start it off, can you just give us like a brief background on your dating history before this infamous man, and then we'll get into him in more detail?
Yeah, I mean, in like high school and my freshman year of college, I was mostly just like having fun. I was going clubbing a lot. I was backpacking through Europe, so I just had like little flings with like guys I met at clubs and promoters. And then I dated, we can call him,
Let's call him Rockhead, because his head looks like a rock.
We can call him Rockhead. I dated Rockhead on and off for like 2 years. He was a frat boy. He was in Phi Delta. I thought I was in love with him, but I wasn't. I mean, that was just a normal, like, you're in school and a frat boy that's older likes you kind of thing.
I think we all have those times where we think we are in love with a frat star and they're the worst person in the world.
He wasn't. He just, yeah, he kind of was.
I guess, what was the timeline in between said frat star and this new guy? What should we call the guy we're talking about today who you dated?
Just call him Bob Marley.
Bob Marley.
Yeah.
All right, so not to be confused with the actual Bob Marley, but obviously we don't use real names on this. We'll be calling him Bob Marley. All right, that'll be good. So yeah, what was the timeline in between Rockhead frat star and Bob Marley, and did you see anybody else in between those two people in a serious manner, at least?
I was single for like 6 months after frat boy broke up with me. He broke up with me. And then I had like a couple like fling dates, but he was the first person I slept with or dated seriously after the frat boy.
All right, so let's just get into it, because I feel like this is going to be a long story. When and how did you and Bob Marley meet?
We met on Bumble. He was really, really hot on his Bumble profile and in real life too. And on his Bumble profile, it said he was 27, but he was not actually 27. And
How old was he actually?
he was 33. Yeah, so we were doing that for a while, and then he caught feelings really fast and like started love bombing me a lot and saying how like he told me he loved me after like 3 or 4 weeks, I think. And then he asked me to be his girlfriend, and I said yes because.
Okay, wait, pause. So you met on Bumble, and he said he was 27, but he was actually how old? 30?
He was actually 33. And then when he asked me to be his girlfriend, I still didn't know how old he was. But then I asked him to come to Vegas to meet the parents for like some event we were doing. I think it was a holiday or something. And then he told me that he was actually 33. When we started dating, I was 21.
Okay, so about
It was an 11-year gap difference.
I'm not great at math. 11?
Yeah, he was 11 years older than me. But I don't think that was the problem at all. I think you can date someone older if you're both at the same maturity level. Men just mature so much slower that 11 years isn't enough. You need at least like 40.
Right. So it didn't bother you that he lied for a while about
No,
his age?
it did.
How did he come out and tell you that?
He texted it to me. I went to Mammoth with my friend. We can just say E and W. E was a girl and W was a dude. And this was like, we had like literally just started dating. Like he asked me to be his girlfriend on Valentine's Day over text, which should have been a red flag in the first place, but it wasn't because I thought I liked him a lot. And then he broke up with me when I went to Mammoth because he found out that W was going and he thought that I was sleeping with W, but W was also gay. He just like didn't understand that. And so he broke up with me then and then told me because I invited him to come to Vegas when I was in Mammoth too, and then he texted me that he was 33. And then I called him in the middle of the night and we like talked about it.
I just want to get this timeline right. So you met around on what month?
I think we met in like January.
And then he asked.
No, because he was there for Christmas. Fuck. What's before December?
No, because remember you were talking. No, I'm getting confused.
I think we met in like October because I was still in school, and then he asked me to be his girlfriend on Valentine's Day
via text.
Yes.
And then he told you right before.
He told me when I asked. That was after he asked me to be his girlfriend. He asked. I asked him if he would come to Vegas to meet my family for anything, and then he told me that he was 33.
Okay. And how did you react when he told you his actual age?
I wasn't really mad about the age thing, but I was mad that he lied about it. But I wasn't like that mad. We got over that in like. It was like a 4-hour fight maybe, but I forgave him.
Yeah, I agree that the age thing isn't really a red flag. I mean, lots of people have those kind of age gaps. I think it was just the fact that he lied in the first place, and maybe you should have not done it over text.
His previous girlfriend that he dated for 4 years was also, I think, 10 years younger than him, and he lied about his age on Bumble so he could meet younger girls, which, like, it was a pretty big red flag. I just like didn't really think about it.
I was going to say, you didn't have your Bumble age limit probably set to 33, unless maybe you did. But
mine was set to, like, 29, I think.
So,
but he had lied about it, so, like, his age showed up on girls that had their ages set younger.
Okay, so you didn't see that as a red flag, that he had lied intentionally
Shayna,
on
I did, but, like, we make dumb decisions. When, one, I had just broken up with frat boy, and I was insecure as fuck, and this guy was giving me so much attention and, like, calling me, like, beautiful and saying he loved me. And, like, buying me all this, like, shit. Like, it was, you want that when it happens. You pretend the bad stuff's not happening.
Oh,
so.
I agree. I'm just trying to get a clear picture here.
Yeah, I
didn't know, because some guys will, like, accidentally set their age wrong on apps, and then they'll be like, oh, I'm actually this old, but I didn't know if he'd done it on purpose or not.
He did it on purpose so we could meet younger girls.
Interesting. So, did he ever talk to you about why he was so into, like, did he only ever want to date girls that were like around 10 years younger? Did he ever date someone more like around the 30 age mark?
I really don't know that much about his other relationships before. I know about the one before me, but not the other ones. I do know he had kind of like a thing for younger girls though. Like, he was really into me wearing like schoolgirl outfits, or like calling him like daddy, or like disciplining me, kind of. Like, if I did something he didn't like, he'd like discipline me, like, sexually in most cases.
This is feeling very 50 Shades of Grey.
But, like, it was kind of hot. Like, I liked it. I still kind of like being like this. I like it when a guy's like that, kind of. Like, they're, like, a little bit in charge of you, but only in the sexual sense. But with him, it leaked into, like, our personal lives, too, which was problematic.
Okay, so when you brought him to meet the family, what was your expectation like of him, coming into our world and, showing off somebody that you knew was maybe a higher age? But
so much shit happened before he met the family too. Him meeting the family wasn't even like a remotely part of the problem. But the main problem with him meeting the family wasn't really the age thing. It was that, like, we had grown up in very, like, different circumstances, and he didn't like the people that had grown up the way I had grown up. Like, he thought that they were, like, had a certain mindset, or privileged to the point where they were just, like, bitchy or douchey, and I think that it, like, kind of bothered him that we had more money.
Okay, well, yeah, I feel like some guys, they don't always know how to react when the person they're with grows up differently than them, and I think a lot of guys like to be the breadwinner, and that's not always the case, especially when you're coming into our family, who is by no means like Bill Gates rich, but we're not.
He also, like, he thought that he doesn't like dad because dad was providing for me financially. He still does. Like, he pays for my apartment and all this shit.
Well, you're still in college, so.
But, like, I'm in law school, but I think he wanted to be the one doing that.
So when you brought him to meet the family, and there was not only our immediate family, you, me, our brother, our mom and dad, but also, some of our extended family as well, how did you feel bringing him into that environment, knowing that he didn't exactly like the way that you grew up?
I mean, honestly, that was fine. Like, he was, like, nice. He was polite. Like, everybody was polite to him. Like, we didn't get in a fight about my family at all.
All right, so I guess let's fast forward a little bit. So
no, you gotta go backward a little bit.
I guess, why don't you tell us where things went wrong? So, like, how long were you officially seeing this guy? Just so everyone kind of has a scope of how long you were together.
It was, like, close to 2 years.
All right, why don't you just kind of lead us into the story then? Because I know so much has happened and I haven't heard a lot of it, so...
Yeah, so basically he asked me out. He asked me to be his girlfriend on Valentine's Day. He broke up with me because I went to Mammoth with E and W, even though W was gay. And then I had to move out of my apartment I was in at the time very quickly because of something I can't really talk about. But like I had to move out. It was a very like bad thing. So I moved out really quickly, and he helped me move in. And then when I moved into that apartment, he was staying at his dad's house at the time, and his dad's place is kind of a shit show. Like it's just like not. He like had a really 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 bad background. He went through shit that like nobody should have to go through. I'm not going to talk about it because that's his story, not mine. Because he was living at his dad's house at the time, and he was in nursing school, he was trying to save money for rent. So he was basically staying at my apartment at least 6 times a week, probably 7, for like 2 or 3 months. And we got really close while we were there. But while we were there, he broke up with me once because he lost his phone outside my apartment. And I had asked my next door neighbor if he had seen it, just to like try to help him find it because he was really upset. And then the way I asked my next door neighbor, I guess the way I was talking to him, he like assumed that he was coming into my room in the middle of the night and fucking me. So he broke up with me then. And I remember like literally like begging him to stay, like him like being on the bed in my bedroom and like me like on my like literally crying, like begging him to stay.
So he thought this just because a neighbor of yours you were talking to?
He thought that we were like talking a certain way, like we were texting a certain like in a way that like was like.
Well, were you texting? Or were you just like talking to a neighbor?
Literally the first time I had met this guy was when I asked him if he had found his phone. So that was a bad, like we had like literally broken up because of it, and like I had begged him to stay and he stayed. While I was still living in Playa del Rey, like in that same apartment, we got in a fight because since he was older, he wanted like kids like fairly soon. Like he talked about it a lot, and I still don't know if I want kids. I think I do, but I definitely like did not know at that point.
Well, you were only like 21 at the time?
I was 21 then. I'm 23 now.
Yeah, I don't think most of us would know at that age.
So I like basically told him like you need to figure out like if that's something you want like in the next like 2 or 3 years, because like it seemed like it was when he was talking about it, and I was like, if it is, we should break up because like I'm not like gonna be able to give that to you, and I also don't want to like keep it from you because you are 33, and like I know like when you're at that point you want kids.
Very mature.
So we broke up, and then like he was like thinking about it, like he like got like all the stuff he had like at my apartment and like went back to his dad's house, and it was a big thing. And then I was like a very 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 insecure at the time and didn't like the idea of like being like alone or like not having like any like validation. So when this dude at work, we'll just call him like M, I guess.
Call him a name. Let's call him Pete.
Okay, he can be Pete. He was a way older guy, like in his like 60s, and I had like no physical attraction to him at all. But he had bought me like a surfboard and would like tip me like $10 every morning, and like had asked me to move in with him at one point when we were talking about like me looking for a new apartment.
What is going on in your
life
over
there?
He
just really wanted like he like clearly liked me, but he asked like how I was doing one morning, and I told him about what was happening with Bob Marley. And then he was like, let's go get a beer and talk about it after. And like I didn't really want to, but I also like wanted someone to talk about it with. And at the time I didn't have like that many good friends in LA anymore because COVID had just happened and everybody had like moved away. And I didn't want to be alone, and I was sad and insecure. And like
this guy was 60?
Yeah, I didn't like him at all physically. It was more just like that he made me feel like really like he listened a lot. Like
was he
like,
trying to be more of like a friend?
He wasn't like creepy about it. So I gave him my phone number, and then when me and Bob Marley were still fighting, he had like texted me like looking forward to getting that beer, and I was like, yeah, me too. And then me and Bob Marley got back together about the kid thing, and then I was moving into my new apartment downtown that same week to go to law school downtown, and he was supposed to help me move in, but he was like too tired or some shit, so he like stayed at my apartment in Playa del Rey while I was moving in. And then while I was moving in, I got a text that he was breaking up with me. He blocked me on everything but Venmo and Instagram because he had read the text on my computer and thought that I was sleeping with this guy, which like low-key kind of fair. Like that was a little bit sketchy.
Can you explain that more, because I'm a little confused?
So Bob Marley was like at my apartment in Playa del Rey while I was moving to downtown. And we had just gone over the kid fight and like breaking up about that.
Right.
But he looked at my laptop and saw that I had texted what's his name again? Pete. That I had texted Pete about getting the beer. And like we never like talked after that. We never even got a beer. Like I wasn't planning on it after. I wasn't planning on it in general, but I really wasn't planning on it after I got back with Bob Marley. And then the Bob Marley thing is tripping me out a little bit. But after I got back with Bob Marley,
that's his name.
But then he had read the text and thought that I had like already hung out with him and like probably had sex with him. And then he broke up with me again. But he texted me while I was moving my stuff into my downtown apartment. He was in my Ply apartment. I like freaked out and ended up missing my last day of work where I was working at the time because I drove to his house in the middle of the night and like wouldn't leave until he opened the door, basically.
So he did all of that just because he saw some texts?
I mean, it was kind of a sketchy text. Like, I'd be a little bit sketched out, too, if my boyfriend was texting some guy. Like, I'm down to get it. It was already, like, looking forward to getting that beer. Sorry about your boyfriend. And then I was like, I'm looking forward to it, too.
That's not sketchy enough to break up with somebody.
It wasn't that sketchy, but, like, it was enough for him that, like, he thought I had already cheated on him. And then I ended up driving to his house in the middle of the night. And, like, I wouldn't leave until he let me in. And then he let me in. And, like, we made up. And, like, that was the first, like, really, really bad fight. So I moved into my apartment downtown. We'll just say, but he was basically living there. We'll just say that. He was basically living there. Like, he was there pretty much every night of the week. And, like, he still had his place at his dad's. But he was, like, pretty much living with me. I saw this guy, like, every single day. When we moved in, he had been taking steroids when I first met him. But he was on steroids, like, still then, too. When, like, I got to know that he was on steroids better when we started living together.
Do you know why he was doing that?
I mean, I kind of get why. I've had a lot of problems with, like, my body insecurity, too. Like, you want to, like, look a certain way.
Aren't steroids illegal?
They are.
Oh, okay. I'm like, yeah. I don't even know.
They're extremely illegal. But, like, I think he was really insecure because he was, like, pretty, like lean when he was a kid. And, like, he just, like, thought that if he was, like, buff, it'd, like, make him better. So he was taking a lot of steroids. And then we started getting in fights about... I remember there was one time I went to class and I wore leggings and, like, a shorter top. And he had, like, come back to the apartment after being at, like, clinicals one day for nursing school. And he broke up with me because he thought that I was trying to show off my curves and fuck law school men. And I apologized for that, too, like, profusely. Like, said I would never wear anything tight to school again.
Why do you think he was doing that?
Well, now I think it's because he was doing that.
Like, he
was talking to other girls the time that we were together, too.
But why? Even, like, just...
But his ex had also, like... had like a digital affair when he was with her. Like she had been like sexting this guy and like getting him off like over the phone. So he had like insecurities about that, and he has a lot of abandonment issues from stuff that I like. It's really not my place to talk about because it's not my place to talk about. But he had a lot of problems. Like he had a lot of problems. And I was like trying to help him through, but he had a shitload of trust issues.
Well, I'm just trying to kind of break down his mindset because you were saying like he liked to be somewhat like dominating in the bedroom and like wanted you to wear certain clothes, but then you're out wearing clothes to law school. You're not going to a club or anything. He's getting mad at you just for wearing that. Like why?
Well, he also told me once that he didn't like taking me out to eat because he thought that I was too pretty and somebody would see me and take me away from him.
Okay, so this man has some control issues if we are going to break it down.
It was also like the steroids do that too, though. Like they make you like testosterone makes you like very like possessive and like jealous. So he got like that a lot.
Well, so, I don't think that helped, but it's more also psychological.
But I know why he was like that psychologically too.
Well,
like,
why?
Well,
you don't have to explain like his trauma, but I'm just saying like, did you at the time see his
I knew
as a red flag?
I knew that he was controlling and that it was a problem, but I thought that if we were together long enough, I could like get him to trust me to the point and like help him get over his abandonment issues and his trust issues and like all this shit. I like fixing people. So we
thought we could change him.
I have a thing for men that have mommy issues and a lot of trauma and are extremely hot, but like very bad for you. And I like fixing them too. Like being like the one person that they're like, yeah, like I'll tell you about my shit. Or like you're the one person I can like trust to be vulnerable with. I love that. It turns me on a lot. So like that's why I liked him a lot. So he broke up with me about the legging thing. And then there were
he broke up with you or he just yelled at you?
No, we broke up.
How many times did you break up?
I don't know. But that was one of the times. And then another time, like in that like same-ish like timeline, we were riding in the elevator together back up to my apartment, and this like new guy that had moved in was carrying a pizza, and he said hi, but like he was only really talking to me. Like he did not look at Bob Marley at all. And then when we got back inside, Bob Marley broke up with me because he thought that the way he was only talking to me and the way he was looking at me meant that I had already been fucking him. So broke up with me about that. It took us like at least a whole day to get over, of me like literally begging him to, like being like, I love you, like I would never cheat on you, all this shit. And then wait, one more time. Well, there's another story like related to this one too. Like less than a month later, I had locked myself out of my apartment because it's like a key fob, like you can't get in. So I had to call security to let me back into my apartment. And Bob Marley was with me because we had been locked out together. And the way the security guy was talking to me, he also thought meant he was fucking me and broke up with me about that, too.
Okay, can we just take a minute and dive into this because this is crazy. This man is
There's
obviously
so much more though. Like this is just like the top.
I mean, it's the top things are what we need here, but this man is clearly delusional. Like, and I understand that we all in the moment don't always see that, but at what point did you realize that he's the one in the wrong and you're not in the wrong, and like you should not be begging for his forgiveness?
I didn't realize that until he started. I realized he was hitting up other girls because I justified it with like his trauma a lot because I do think that.
But like everyone has
trauma.
But
not like we're privileged as fuck, and like we don't realize it a lot. But we both had like really, really, really good childhoods and really, really, really good parents. But when you don't, it messes with like your psychological mindset a lot. And his was like whatever like trauma you're thinking, like multiply it by like 800, and like that's what he had gone through.
But do you think that's an excuse to treat people like this?
I don't think that it's an excuse, but I think that it kind of like it not justifies it, but like explains it. And I loved him. Like when it was good, it was good. Like I know like you're only talking about the bad stuff. Like when it was good, it was like really, 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 really good. Like he's a good guy, and like he made me like really happy.
I don't know about that.
He is. But he made like too many. His trauma affected him like too much with too many mistakes, and like eventually like I didn't want to like try to help him fix it anymore.
So I think we can all be pretty blind when we're in a situation like that. I know I've been in situations like that where I've been with terrible people, and I try not to look at the bad things that they've done. But I guess I want to ask you, at what point did you start realizing, why is this man so worried about me talking to a pizza guy, like talking to a security guard, not letting me wear certain, like, at what point did you start to think maybe this isn't me and this is maybe him?
I honestly like really, really, really didn't think about it until I saw screenshots of him hitting up other girls.
So when did that happen?
Way later. Like this is like a year past what's happening right now.
All right, well, I guess let's just stick to the present. We'll get there when we get there.
Okay, yes, cool. So the elevator boys happened. And then I was still going to school. He was in nursing school. We were spending all the time together. And like for a while it was like pretty okay. But we were fighting about like random shit too, because he was on steroids and he would get mad at like little stuff. And then when I was taking my first midterm of my law school career. Okay, so I was studying for my first law school midterm, which is my property. It was like the first test I was ever going to take in law school. And we've been fighting about like little shit for like at least like a month before. And then he like, while I was studying for it, he like walked into the room and was like, if we broke up, like, would you want to take the cat? Because like I don't want the cat. And I was like,
because you shared a cat. I don't think you ever mentioned that.
Well, like he had found a cat in his dad's like truck engine when I was still living in Playa del Rey, and it was his cat. Like the cat had lived at his dad's house for a long time, but then since we were spending so much time together in my apartment, even though he wasn't living there, like we put the cat there too. So like all her stuff was there. So like, would you want the cat? And I was like, I'm not gonna talk about this right now. And then was mad, so I broke up with him, and then we spent the entire night like half like fighting, half like crying, half like being in love, and then we're like together by the next morning. But I did pretty bad on my first midterm because instead of studying, I was doing that. And then what was the next time we broke up? It was mostly just because of the steroids. Like he would get mad about like little shit. Like he threw my blinds when I was in class because they like wouldn't go down the right way, and it was like messing up his like workout equipment he was bringing in and out. And he was on steroids. Like they make you like think not like correctly. So
was he ever not on steroids?
Yes, which is a whole other problem. But when he was on the steroids, he threw my blinds and like literally ripped them off like my living room wall. So I had no blinds still, and dented like 2 spots in the floor, which lost me like a $2,600 security deposit. But like we were getting in fights about like stuff like that, or like he would just like be in a bad mood when we went out. And then I don't remember the next time we broke up was.
You don't have to go over every major event, but just, I guess, the things that led up to you eventually ending things with him.
Yeah, so, like, I had made friends in law school with, like, 2, like, guys that I was kind of, well, like, 3. Like, M, we'll just say M.
Why do you want to leave initials? Like,
because I'm just using the first letter of their name. Oh. I don't know how else. I can't think of names that quickly.
All right, M.
And I'm going to forget. So there was M, there was K, and there was B. And K has a serious girlfriend that he has a child with and lives in a house with, but that I'm friends with. M is also gay. And B is just like, he's a guy that I went to school with, but like it was never anything other than just being friends. Like we would just help each other in class. And I was texting them like a fair amount, and he broke up with me once just because I was texting B so much, even though he was texting 2 girls he went to nursing school with about like shit he wasn't even talking to me about, like how he was like struggling with nursing school and like felt like he couldn't do it and all this stuff. And I like kind of got mad about that, but not really, because I get it. Like when you're in school, like you need to talk to people that are in school with you, because it's hard. Like nursing school and law school are hell.
Do you think the fact that he was in another, like he was in school for nursing, like affected the way he also treated you?
No, because I did half his assignments for him. Like I wrote like most of his not most, but like at least like 40% of his nursing school papers for him, and I helped him pass his tests because like he was really stressed out about it. And I get it, because he had already had like, I think he has like 2 BAs and 1 master's already, and then he was getting another BA in nursing and then going into a master's program after that. So he was tired and he'd been through a lot of shit. So, and I'm good at school. Like I can write a paper in like an hour and like get a good grade on it, even if it's in nursing and I don't understand nursing. So I was helping him a lot with stuff like that, but school was not stressing him out. Not like that much.
So that had nothing to do with how it was affecting your relationship?
No. Except the fact that I was not working on my schoolwork to work on his, which was stupid. Yeah, so we had like been like a big fight right before my first like finals of the year. Like some of them were midterms, some of them were finals, like depending on if the class was year long or not. But they were big tests. Like they were between 50% and 100% of my grade. And when you're in your first year of law school, your grades kind of determine like the rest of your legal career, because you use those grades to apply to internships for your second year internship too. So they're really, really important. And he broke up with me because I had told him that I was going to go out with K, M, and a girl, like after midterms to like celebrate like that we were done with our first semester of law school.
Normal.
He said it was okay. He went to go take a Botox class because he was like learning how to like give people like Botox for like injections to make money on the side. And he fucked up while he was at the Botox class because he was on steroids and mad all the time, and came like back in a bad mood and broke up with me that night before I had taken any of my midterms because I told him I was going to go out.
So he had no reason for that breakup, just because he was kind of in a bad headspace?
He broke up with me because I told him I was going to go out with my friends, like after the finals. And then I went out, and then he said it was okay, actually. Like we like got over it. He was like, no, go out. Like you deserve it. It's fine. I went out. And then while I was out, I had met this other guy who was also gay. I had texted him like, hi, my name's like Kayla or something like that. Like just like so he'd have my number in his phone.
Yeah.
And he saw the text when I got home that night. Like I was fairly drunk, but I got home like late. And he saw the text and like assumed that I had slept with him, and then broke up with me for like 3 days. And I had to like beg him to stay, basically.
I don't understand this guy's mentality of the constant breakups. Like, does he just think that's normal to just like be continuously getting back together and then ending things with somebody?
Well, I think I'm really not sure, but I think that like part of it was that he just like really didn't trust me and didn't want to get.
Why though?
Like,
why did he not trust you?
Because of his past that I can't really talk about, but like stuff happened when he was a kid that like really, really, really fucked up his mentality.
Nothing that you ever did caused
nothing.
That.
Well, except the texting the guy that asked for my number at work thing.
Which was not a big deal.
But I mean, I kind of get why I'd be upset about that too. If like I had a boyfriend, he was like, "Yeah, I'll meet you for a beer with like some random girl I didn't know." I'd be like,
"Okay, but that could just be a friend."
But he also said like, "I'm sorry about your boyfriend," frowny face. Like it kind of like seemed, it was a little sus. It wasn't like break up with them for 2 days sus, but it was like we should talk about this. Like who is this person sus? Yeah.
I mean, you can think what you want. I personally would not get mad if I saw that on someone's phone and they explained the situation to me.
Like a lot happened to him. Like I was like trying to like justify it from his point of view too. Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of thinking, having to go back and forth between 2 people's heads.
Yeah. But so we broke up because of that, and then we broke up because he went off steroids, and when he went off steroids, his sex drive went down like a lot.
What made him go off of it?
I had told him he should go off of it because it was causing like all these
he's a
problems.
psychopath.
And so he went off of them like for me. But then when he went off of them, his sex drive went down a lot because that's what happens. Like your body like stops being able to produce testosterone. So we started getting in fights about that, but I never cheated on him. Like while he was coming off of them, like he was getting really insecure, and I was still texting B, who I went to law school with, who was a guy, but like we never did anything, and like I never wanted to either. He was really just a friend. But he saw that I was texting him so much, and he got mad that I was texting him so much, so he broke up with me because of that. It took me like 5 days to get him to forgive me for texting this kid I went to school with. Right before I took my finals for law school, like my last finals.
So is this more recent?
This is like in like May. This is like the kind of like the turning point for me. Right before I took my first final, and it was like it went really well, and I came back to the apartment and he was there, and I had bought like wine to like just like after a final, like I like to get like a little bit like tipsy or drunk, because like this is like a 4-week process of like literally just like studying for like 14 hours a day. Like it's hell. So when you finish one, you want to like celebrate a little bit. And I got like fairly drunk, and he was being sketchy. Like he was on his phone a lot. And I was like joking, like literally joking. I was like, are you texting your hoes? And he'd be like, haha, like, no, like obviously not. He fucking was. We were like joking about that, but he was being weird. Like I got home and he just like didn't like want to, like, he was being weird. So he went to like go to the gym or something, and I looked at his Mac and saw 2 different conversations of him sending shirtless pictures to these girls. And the first one was just like,
how did you see this? You just
I logged on to his computer because he left it open. I didn't have any of his passwords, but he had all of mine. He made me give him my phone password, my iCloud password, my Instagram password, my Snapchat password, my Twitter password, and my location.
Why did he make you give?
Because after we had gotten in the fights about me like texting the guy from work and all that, he was like, I need this to like feel safe. So I gave it to him, but I didn't even have his phone password.
Why did you ever ask for it?
I honestly like trusted him. Like I really didn't think he was going to do anything bad, just because I didn't have trust issues before that really. But so I looked at his computer, and he had texted one girl like a shirtless picture of him with his pants like half down, saying like, do you want to hang out soon? And she replied very good. And then he said, so do you want to? And she didn't reply. And there was another girl who like they had like a long conversation. Like I had like read their text. They had talked about like school and like her having an eating disorder, and like him like not being sure about like what he wanted to do with his life for like a while. Like this had happened, like it wasn't like a day thing. Like they'd been talking for a minute. And he texted, they had like stopped talking for a couple weeks at a time. And he texted her that day, the same shirtless pic, and was like, what's your Snapchat? Like, can we hang out? And she was like, no, not tonight. But like started talking about her life to him. And then she was like, oh, I'm so proud of you. Like, you're doing so good. And like,
do you think that they knew he had a girlfriend?
They didn't know, because I asked them after. I texted all of them, and then asked to hang out again. And then she didn't answer. But when I saw the text, I like kicked him out of my apartment, obviously, and like he left, and I broke up with him. But like I still wanted to be with him, like I really did.
Why do you think you felt that way?
Because I was in love with him. Like we'd also gone on vacations together. That was a whole other story actually that I probably should have talked about. When we went to Sequoia, he was also on steroids. And he lost his phone and his wallet in like a 2-day time span, and he called it a vacation from hell and said he wanted to get the fuck out of there, and then broke up with me after that too, even though like I didn't do anything wrong on the vacation. He was just in a bad mood that he had lost his phone because his brain didn't work because he was on steroids. But
can I ask how long in between every one of these many breakups? Like, was it like a 1 day?
It depends. It was between like a week and like a month. But we went like a couple months, like 2 to 3 months, like being good. Like it was just good. Like everything was okay. It was a good relationship.
All right.
He was texting all these Bumble girls. I broke up with him. And then he came back to my apartment. Like he just showed up there and was like throwing up like profusely and saying how like he couldn't live without me. And he was going to completely change and be a better man. And would give me all his passwords and all this shit. And I forgave him. But we were like fighting about it for like 6 days in between.
And this was after you had kicked him out?
This was after I had kicked him out and I had taken my first final, but I had 3 more. I got in a car crash because I was like distracted about it and I wasn't studying at all. And then I like forgave him 6 days in, but like we weren't talking still because I was mad. And then like pretty much bombed my last like 3 finals, which was on me because I shouldn't have let myself think about it that much, but I did. So I was really distracted. So bombed my last 3 finals. We got back together. Things were good for like 2 weeks. And then he went out with his friends, his nursing school friends. But one of them was like another girl that like very clearly wanted to fuck him. And I got kind of mad about it, which was like, I didn't used to, but I got paranoid after I saw that he was texting the Bumble girls. And he broke up with me because I was getting paranoid. for the first time in 2 years. But my God, I dealt with it for 2 years and like way worse shit. And then broke up with me about that. We got back together. And then on my birthday,
which was just a month ago.
That was like a month ago. Like on my birthday, we were like actually really good. Like right before my birthday, like the 2 weeks before, like everything was great. He had forgotten to get me a present on my first birthday. Like he just didn't. So like I was kind of expecting him to try a little bit more this time. And he did get me a present, but it also wasn't really one I wanted. But he did try. But then I had to go to work that night. So I was at work, and the girls I work with were like, we should go out. Like, let's go out for your birthday. Like, let's go do something. And I texted him, and I was like, are we, like, doing anything tonight? And he was like, no. And I was like, okay, like, if you didn't plan anything, like, I'm going to go out with my friends and, like, have fun. The minute I texted him I had fun, he just stopped. I was going to go out. He stopped replying.
Got it.
And then I ended up not going out because one of the girls forgot her ID. So we decided to go out a different night. So I came back and he was still there, but he was about to leave. And then when he saw I got back, he like went back up into the apartment with me. And I was like, what were you doing? And he was like, I was just getting something out of my car. But he had nothing in his hands. So I was like, okay, that's sus. He was in a bad mood when I got back, even though it was my birthday. And I had just worked an 8-hour shift. And then he went to the bath. Well, no, we were about to go to bed. Like, he was like, we had the lights. Like, I was like in bed. And I looked at his phone because I was like, I just feel like I should. And he had texted the girl that he drove an hour and a half to see, hey. And that's it. But I was like, and the time he had sent the text was like literally 2 minutes after I told him I was going out with my friends. So I was just like,
what a great guy.
I wasn't even that mad. I asked, like, when he like came back in the room, I was like, why did you text her? And instead of answering, he like picked up his shit and just like left.
Like, he didn't respond?
No, he didn't say a single word. Left. So I texted him that I was done because at that point, like, I really like was done. Like, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is the point where like I'm forgiving someone that doesn't even like love me because he's treating me like this. And then
good for you.
He was like agreed. Like, he was like, yeah, we should break up for like the first like 2 days. Was like totally okay with it. By the second day, he started texting me like, oh, like this like happened yesterday. You would have laughed. Or like, oh, I miss you. Like, I hope you're okay. Like, I know it's been hard for me. And I was like, no, like we should still break up. Like, when you come in and get your shit, because he had more stuff there.
Because he was kind of living at.
He was basically like he had his own place, but he was basically living at my apartment. So he came with his brother to get more of his shit one day, and I left. And when I came back, he was like waiting for me there, and started like asking. He was like could we try again? Like, I'll completely. It gets worse. I'll completely change. Like, everything's gonna be different. And I was like, no. Left. That night, he called me 17 times, and then showed up at my apartment. And like wouldn't leave until I let him in.
Like, actually 17 times?
Like literally 17 times. like at least I could go through and count them, but it was like
we'll say 17.
It was at least over like 13. Like, it was a lot. And then showed up at my apartment until I let him in. And then like he was like crying, which was a lot for me because I'd never seen him cry, and like it kind of like seemed like he actually like cared when he started crying. And was saying how like he like missed everything about me and couldn't live without me, and how he wanted to marry me and said he would marry me like right then and there if I just like would get back with him. Like, we could get engaged today and get married like tomorrow in Vegas.
Why does he think you want to marry him?
Because I was in love with him. I was like, and I acted like I was. I treated him like pretty good most of our relationship.
Except he'll probably just end the marriage every few weeks.
Yeah, well, there's that. I said no. And he had to get more of his stuff because he'd left some of it. And when he came to do that, I left. Like, I went to go hang out with a friend. Like, I wasn't even there when it was happening. And when I came back, he had bought me, like, I think it was, like, 56 flowers. I remember counting them.
56, everyone.
And he had put Post-it notes all over my apartment of things he loved about me. It was, like, grateful for about the relationship. And it was, like, all this shit he could have done, like, so long ago. And, like, didn't.
Because he's like, oh, it's too little too late.
And then he called me, and I was like, why are you doing this? And he was like, well, I thought you were bluffing every other time. Like, I didn't think you'd actually leave. And I was like, it's like that just like really pissed me off. And then he texted me a couple times after and called. He came back to the apartment once more and wouldn't leave, and we had a whole other conversation about it. He DM'd my mom and said sorry for his behavior because I had sent her screenshots of him texting the girls when I was like drunk and mad because I wanted someone to bitch with me about it. And like he knew that she'd seen them, and he thought that if like he got back in her good graces, he'd get back in my good graces.
That's not how it works. Once the mom knows, it's pretty much over.
Yeah. Then he wanted to be friends and asked me to go see a movie with him and like hang out with him, but we haven't we were like kind of talking like the first like 2 weeks after, just because we were both like kind of like working through it, but we haven't like actually talked in like the last like 2 weeks.
So you haven't seen him since?
I haven't seen him since the last time he showed up in my apartment and didn't leave.
I feel like I just went on a roller coaster. So take this question with a grain of salt, but what makes this breakup different than every other breakup where you've gotten back together with him?
Like, why did I actually decide to leave? Well, I think it was just he hit up those Bumble girls, and I was almost ready to leave him then. Because, like, you're hitting up other girls. Like, when I've done all this shit trying to get you to trust me, and you accused me the entire time and gave, like, me all this anxiety about, like, you not trusting me. And I forgave you for it. And then a month later on my birthday, you hit up a random girl because I was going out with my friends. And then you left without even trying to, like, talk about it and said it was a good idea to break up until, like, 3 days after. Yeah, I was at a point where, like, I didn't want to forgive him anymore. I didn't, like, care what he thought about me anymore. Like, I really didn't want to be with him anymore.
So there's no chance of you changing your mind and getting back together?
We're never getting back together. I still do think, like, a lot of his past had to do with what he did. And I hope he's doing great, but we're never, like, I want to be friends one day, possibly.
No.
I think it could happen, like, in the very, very, very far future, but we're definitely not getting back together.
I've never been speechless, but that was
like
crazy.
It's not that crazy, though. I feel like a lot of girls have been through, like, a situation where, like, they kind of knew the guy was toxic and all their friends telling them they were toxic, but they were just so into it. It's hard to leave someone, like, because you still love them even if they're toxic. Like, it's really, 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 really hard to leave someone. Like, I still think about it sometimes at night. Like, when I miss him, I'm like, should I text him? Because I know he'd come over. But, like, it's really hard to not. And it takes you, like, getting hurt a lot to get to that point, I think. Like, I understand the girls that are still in relationships where, like, they know the guy sucks and all their friends know they suck, but they're still there. Like, I get why you're still there.
I agree that people have a hard time leaving, and, like, a lot of girls have been in toxic, like, situationships or relationships, but this is, like, very severe. Like, it's borderline abusive.
But there was so much good stuff happening, too. Like, when we weren't fighting, it was, like, he was my best friend. And, like, it was so good. I saw him every single day. He was my best friend. Like, we had fun every day together. Like, I was completely in love with him.
It's such a weird thing because, like, I can see how he was your best friend, but it's like your best friend wouldn't treat you like that.
Well, that's why eventually you leave. But, like, it's so much different, like, the friendship too. Like, you're so attached to that person. We were hella codependent. Like, I thought, like, I couldn't live without him.
Yeah, I don't think you're giving yourself as much credit as you deserve. You're like, this isn't that big of a deal. Like, so many people have been through this, and it's like, yeah, people have been through things, but that is, like, so, like I said, it's, like, borderline abusive. It's codependency issues. It's all of that stuff.
He never hit me or did anything like that.
It doesn't have to be physical to be. It's like he was emotionally manipulating you, telling you can't wear this. And just the fact that he would break up with you randomly for a person talking to you, looking at you, like, that is a manipulation.
I know. I agree with that now. But when you're in it, like, it almost turned me on in the beginning. Like, how jealous he got and how possessive he got. I was like, this guy likes me so much. Like, he's getting this mad about, like, the idea of me talking to someone else. Like, it was, like, it's a huge confidence boost. And it's low-key kind of hot.
Yeah, but you were only really feeling that way because, like you had mentioned, you were insecure and you were coming out of the frat guy. Like, so, yeah, every girl likes, like, if your boyfriend was never jealous, like, that would be a problem. But he took it to such an extreme level, and it's like, that is honestly traumatizing.
Well, yeah, I don't trust men anymore. But
well, none of us do.
Because you shouldn't. They all are horrible people and will fuck you over at some point, even if they seem like they're great. But
that is our mantra on this podcast.
It took me a while to get there.
I mean, I don't have a lot of words. I feel like I want to sit here and, like, act like God and give all these words of wisdom, but it's clear that you've processed everything that happened and you were aware that you were almost in denial, and you can look back now and say, oh, this wasn't my fault and this did happen a certain way. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, thank you for sharing the story. I think it sounded like it was kind of therapeutic for you to get it all out like that, which is, like,
I've already talked about it, though. Like, I came to terms with it, like, 4 weeks ago.
Well, how do you see yourself changing from this relationship?
I mean, I'm definitely never going to let a man treat me like that again. Because it was a good relationship. Like, me giving it up, even though all the bad shit happened, like, I wouldn't have done that if I was going to let someone else treat me the same way. And I'm also a lot less naive, I think. Like, when I kind of just, like, trusted what guys say and, like, them, well, just them in general, I really, really, really don't now. Like, I think you can believe about, like, maybe 2% of what comes out of most men's mouths.
What are some things you're going to look for in the next guy you're with? What, like, both red flags and green flags? Like, if you see this is a constant, I'm out of here, or like, I really liked this, and then I'm like, it's like a deal breaker. Like, I'm looking for this quality in a guy.
I mean, my thing right now is I don't want a relationship until I graduate law school. I'm having fun with men currently because it's fun, but I don't really see myself being in, like, a serious relationship again for a long time. But when I would, it'd be more just, like, less of the butterflies and more of, like, the safety feeling, because I tend to get bored very easily. So I kind of like the roller coaster, like the guys being like, we're together, we're not, we're together, we're not. Like, it makes, like, I like it, but
that's so unhealthy.
I know I shouldn't like it. So I want to look for guys that are more just, like, stable, and one, don't get jealous, and don't break trust either, and, like, you just can be yourself around them too. I feel like when you meet the right guy, you know.
I agree. I don't think it's bad if your boyfriend is getting jealous, but there's a level where it's appropriate, and then where it becomes literally almost abusive.
Like, I mean, if a guy breaks up with me again because a guy carrying a pizza box looked at me a certain way, I'm going to leave. And if any man is taking steroids or a gym rat, I am not dating them.
Well, I mean, that's illegal, as I just learned. I think it's interesting because you could have really flipped the switch on him, but at the time you just didn't realize what was happening. But, like, if you really thought about it, a guy was carrying a pizza box and said hello to you, and he got mad. You could have just gaslit this man so hard into being like, are you really getting mad at me about a pizza guy? Like, and made him feel insecure.
Okay, the thing is, like, I'm a pretty insecure, I used to be, and I'm still kind of working on it, insecure person in general. Like, I had an eating disorder. Like, I never really thought, like, I was pretty. So, like, I was more scared about him liking me than me liking him. That's another thing. I think, like, when you're dating someone, it should be more about whether you fuck with them than whether they fuck with you. Because if they don't fuck with you, then why do you even want to be with them in the first place? But it took me a long time to get to that point.
Yeah, well, I think the fact that you went through that, and even though you don't want to get into a serious relationship anytime soon, when you are ready for that, you will be able to kind of enter that headspace of, you're acting like a crazy person, and I'm not going to put up with it because you already went through that with somebody. So hopefully in the future now, if someone is getting mad at you for something as silly as a pizza boy saying hi, you can look at them and be like, you're acting crazy. Like, do you realize what you're saying right now? Like, if you're gonna be like this, like, you can step away and not be like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like,
I think it's low-key less that and more just, like, you know, you'll be okay by yourself. Like, you know, like, if they do fuck up, because, like, you really don't know if someone's gonna fuck you over or not, and, like, you really don't know, like, where a relationship's gonna go. I think it's more just knowing that no matter what happens or how attached to them you are, you'll be okay if you break up. Because I never thought I would before. Like, now I know, like, I'm positive I can be okay, like, leaving, like, a really serious relationship.
Is there any message that either you took away or you would want other girls to take away from this story if they're maybe in a similar situation and are trying to also find a way to kind of get out of that toxicness?
I think the first thing is, like, don't beat yourself up for staying in it when people tell you that it's stupid. Because I get why you're staying in it, and it's really fucking hard to leave it. But the more important thing is, like, have more conversations with yourself. Because, like, when we broke up, like, I started journaling again, like, literally, like, talking to myself about what happened. And I was like, you were so fucking dumb. And I feel like if I had done that then, I would have realized stuff a little bit earlier. Like, care about your opinion more than anybody else's. Because, like, yours is really the only one that matters.
Right. I mean, I think a lot of it is hard. And I remember looking at you and being like, I don't understand why you're still with him. Like, I never really ever liked him. But
nobody ever. But I loved him.
I know. But
I still love him. Like, I love him to the point where, like, I hope that he gets everything he wants in life and gets through all his trauma and is so fucking happy. I just don't want to be a part of it anymore.
Yeah. And I think that's very healthy. And the fact that you were able to finally say, I'm not walking away because my entire family and friends are telling me to walk away. It's because I finally decided that I had enough. And it is very hard to leave something like that. So if you're in a situation like that, you kind of got to wait till you get to that point yourself. Because then it won't work. You know, just keep going back like how you were doing multiple times.
It's like if you're with a guy you think that might be in that relationship, but you're not sure yet. Because I know you're not sure. Like, I was not sure. I was like, no, like, it's a good thing still. Like, I'm just like, we have to work through it. Like, you'll get to the point where you'll know or not. Like, you have to wait. But it's okay. Like, having a shitty relationship helps you grow in the first place. And everything ends eventually. So, like, have fun while you're in it. And when you're not, leave.
So what are you doing now to just focus more on yourself besides obviously being in law school and just kind of having fun with guys in a more or less serious way? Is there anything else you're doing to try to better yourself or your mindset? Or are you just kind of seeing where, like, is this did happen pretty recently, like only a month ago, so.
And I meditate, which I know sounds like hippie in LA as fuck, but like actually is really good for you. And
It is.
I'm writing again, which is, like, I haven't written for fun for the past like 4 years, and I always wanted to write. So like writing again was like the main thing.
Is there anything else you'd like to say in regards to this relationship, what you learned from it, what you've been through? Again, I feel like I could say so much, but I feel like you said it all, and you said it very eloquently, and you've learned and moved from it. I think the biggest thing I would say is, please, dear God of Lord of Christ of Jesus Savior, do not get back with this man.
I'm never getting back with him. I would say like the main thing, I don't even fucking know. Like, trust yourself and like talk to yourself. It's okay if you fuck up and you make stupid decisions. Like, I was mad at myself for a long time. Like, when we first broke up, I was mad at myself for like letting him do it. And like that was worse than being mad at him. But then I was like, you shouldn't be mad. Like, I don't know. You learn from everything you fuck up with. Like, nothing's really a mistake. It's more just like a learning experience. Like, learn from it and have fun. Like, if the guy's making you anxious, like if you're checking your phone, like worrying about him texting you back, or like, did he watch my Instagram story? Like, does he like, so like I'm hot? Or, like, who is he following that's hotter than me? If you're thinking like that at all with a guy, stop talking to the guy and like do your own shit. And like when the right guy's there, you're not going to think about that. Especially because you're good enough with yourself that you won't care.
I love that. I actually recorded an episode last week about how to live your best single life and why you should enjoy being single and why you shouldn't worry about what other people are doing. So, I mean, it's still therapeutic for me to talk, but I think it could help you as well, just because you are going through that first initial phase of the month.
I'm
everything.
Genuinely pretty much over him at this point. I hope he's doing good, but other than that, I do not really care.
Well, good. That's the first step then. Well, I think that was one of our more emotional, traumatic episodes. Thank you for sharing, Kayla. I think now that you finally shared a story, maybe I'll finally get the courage to share one of my guy stories online. Let's hope and pray.
Fucking shit.
It's very vulnerable, so thank you for saying that. It's hard to listen to, and it's hard to say, and the world will hear it, whoever decides to listen to it. But really, thank you for coming on, and if you want to share your Instagram handle with us, this is your time to do so.
It's at Kayla Goldberg _, but I hate taking pictures, and I post like once a month, so I personally would not follow me.
What a great way to promote yourself. Well, on that note, thank you again. I have no idea how I'm going to throw this episode together. I feel like I need to go like do a spa or something and cleanse myself after that. But okay, we're gonna end it here because I don't know what else might come out of her mouth. So thank you so much, everyone. Again, if you do not follow us on TikTok and Instagram at What the Frick Podcast, we also have a YouTube channel if you want to watch this episode instead. And thank you. Signing off from Las Vegas. Drop the mic.
Bye. Are we done? Can I go inside?